to call to order the City Council Success Agency to the Westminster Redevelopment Agency meeting right now, 7:31 p.m., Wednesday, March 23rd, 2022. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Mayor Ta,
Here.
Vice Mayor Manzo,
Here.
Councilmember Doe,
I'm here.
Councilmember Ho.
Here.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Here.
Mayor, all members are present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. So next we have salute to the flag will be Councilmember Ho. Invocation will be Councilmember Nguyen.
Please stand. Hand over your heart and follow my lead. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You got it.
Please bow your head for the invocations. Heavenly Father, we ask for your guidance as we meet tonight to conduct business of our city government. Help us keep in mind that we are here to serve the people of Westminster and enable us to make our decisions so that we may do what is best for all of the citizens we represent. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Ho and Councilmember Nguyen. Next, we have City Attorney closed section report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We had two items on the closed session, both concern potential litigation items. The council gave direction to staff. There's nothing to report. One item I will say, going into the closed session, there was a question that was raised, and apparently the video got cut off. It was a question about a speaker, Ms. Rains. She had a sign up when she was speaking, and I had commented that there was not a problem with her doing that. And what I think got cut off was I mentioned that my understanding is that we do have some rules related to signs when we're in person, when the council meeting in person, large signs that might obstruct or interfere with the meeting itself. But signs are certainly allowed generally, and we had not applied that to internet meetings. So that was the only comment that I made, and for the record, it was intended to be a public statement, but apparently the video got cut off. So other than that, nothing further to report.
Thank you, City Attorney. Next, we have ex parte communications. None. So City Clerk report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. First, I wanted to invite all the members of the public who may be interested in participating. If you're interested and wish to assist the community. And next, I'd like to introduce Emergency Services Director David Segura to provide a COVID-19 update.
Can you unmute? I think you have to unmute yourself.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. It's not one thing, it's another. All right, I'll start over. Well, good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members, city staff, and community members. Tonight, I will provide you with a brief update on COVID-19 and some of the trends within our local area. According to the CDC, an easily transmitted version of the Omicron coronavirus variant known as BA.2 represents a growing share of COVID-19 cases in the US. Though BA.2 is rising in the US, leading public health officials are not expecting another dramatic surge in new cases, largely due to the amount of immunity within the population. And what they're referring to, this is due to the current high levels of population immunity from both vaccination and infections. Therefore, the risk of medically significant disease, hospitalization, and death from COVID-19 is greatly reduced for most people. However, as we know, some people and communities, such as our oldest residents, people who are immune compromised, and people with disabilities are at higher risk for serious illness and face challenging decisions on how to protect themselves from COVID-19. According to the healthcare experts, wearing masks and getting vaccinated will further improve protection from COVID-19 and all variants. BA2 does not appear to be more severe than the previous version of Omicron, but the concern is that it does spread more easily and quickly than the other variants, which may lead to more cases of COVID-19. Even if a variant causes less severe disease in general, an increase on the overall number of cases could cause an increase in hospitalizations, which could put strain on our healthcare system. So far, the current numbers in Orange County and in California continue to trend in the positive direction. According to the CDC, the community level in Orange County is low. CDC looks at the combination of three metrics: new COVID-19 admissions per 100,000 population in the past 7 days, the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied by COVID-19 patients, and total new COVID-19 cases per 100,000 population in the past 7 days. This determines the COVID-19 community level. The new COVID-19 admissions and the percent of staffed inpatient beds occupied represent current potential for strain on the health system, while data on new cases acts as an early warning indicator of potential increases in healthcare strain in the event of COVID-19 surge. Therefore, using these data points, the COVID-19 community level is classified either as low, medium, or high. Again, currently in Orange County, the community level is considered low per the CDC. In closing, I'm happy to report that the positive rate of COVID-19 cases within our city workforce is very low as well. This is the end of my report, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you so much for your report. Any questions or concerns from our council member?
Hello, I have a question for Mr. Segurin.
Yes, sir.
For indoor settings, as far as social distance and masks are concerned, what is the current, it's a strong recommendation is what from what I understand?
Correct. Many of the indoor masking has been lifted with the exception of mega events, but currently highly recommended for whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you so much again for your report. Next, we have oral communication.
Oh, we have city manager report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
City manager.
Not a problem. It's very brief tonight, I promise. So tonight, Mayor, members of the City Council, and members of the community, we just have a couple of things that we want to announce. First off, we have the unveiling of the new Tony Lamb Park sign next week on Monday, March 28th at 1 p.m. So that's a public event. That was something in which we, the approval of changing the name of the park from Park West Park to Tony Lamb. So the unveiling for that sign will be happening on Monday. For anyone who's interested, you're welcome to attend. Also, in light of our successful Santa on the Go event back in December, where we brought Santa to our local neighborhoods, this year for Easter, we are having our bunny hop. It's the first time we're doing this. April 9th and 16th, we'll be going to 4 parks, 2 on each day, and we'll get that information finalized and put on the website and on our social media. But there will be photos with the Easter bunny. We'll have egg hunts at each location, games, and other fun activities. We'll also have a few community booths out at each event as well. So, you know, as soon as we get that available, we'll have it on the website, on social media, and check out, our website for your closest park for location and time. So we're excited to have this event and would like to invite everyone to come out. It's absolutely free. It'll be fun. And we're looking forward for our residents to enjoy our park amenities. Last thing, we have the latest version of our newsletter and recreation guide out. So that is available. It's currently available digitally. So it is on our website, and you can find that by going, to www.westminster-ca.gov. And that is all for tonight's report. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you so much for your report, City Manager. So next we have oral communication.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a time of the meeting that members of the public may address the city council regarding any items on the agenda or not on the agenda, but within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. At this time, I will be shortly allowing members of the public to speak for a total of 5 minutes. We did have one member of the public to speak in advance, and that would be followed by the additional Zoom speakers. So at this time, I'd like to call Tony Bowie. You may unmute yourself and begin speaking.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council members, and good evening on people who attend the meeting. I'm Tony Bowie. Would like to present my opinions regarding the growth of the city in the past couple months. I saw that all of you have been too busy to have the not get into the main purpose to make the city of Westminster financially stability and create a public trust. I think that you all have to concentrate on your tactics and also on the strategies to make our city be more financial stability, because very soon the city will have to increase another half-cent tax on the people again, I guess, because city has been in red due to financial hardship, because you guys do not create good programs to help business people. So my concern that all of you have to concentrate to make our city be efficiency, and then also have to help the affordability for housing for the city of the low-income people, and also have to facilitate for local business activities, because many people try to do business in our city, but they look at the activities of our city council meeting and they feel that this is not a good place to do business when all of you try to fight with each other or try for all your own selfishness goal. So I would like to bring up my concern, and hopefully all of you have to put aside your own ego and to concentrate on working for the city of Westminster in all aspects, from business, educational, social, and many other activities for young generation. Thank you very much, and best wish to all of you, and try to concentrate on your work, not on smearing each other on something that is really bad for our city of Westminster. Thank you again.
Our next speaker is Roger Mindrum. You may begin speaking.
Hello, good evening, everyone. City Council, staff, my fellow residents. I'll first like to say that was a rare occasion that Mr. Tony Bowie actually made some sense. I actually agree with him tonight. So thank you, Mr. Bowie. See, things can change. At the last meeting, I had mentioned in my comments that I was kind of expecting a fiasco of a meeting. It was a lot worse than I actually thought it was going to be. If you remember, my comments were partially that we should have some public comment section at the end of the meeting so we can comment on the either good or bad that happened in the meeting, of what your decisions have been. And I got to tell you, I'm just appalled at everything. Just flat out appalled at everything. If you're so stuck on yourselves, you're so stuck on your egos, you're so stuck on attacking each other, and your ego's killing the city. and you're not getting anything done. I mean, every single time that I've seen and heard the city staff, the financial directors, the city managers present the dire straits of our financial situation, you talk a little bit and you do nothing. You had a special session, what was it, a year or two ago, and a very long, lengthy, detailed meeting. What have you done? The last meeting, Kimberly Ho, you said, oh, I've got great ideas. I'm a businesswoman. I've got great ideas. What have you done in the last 6 years? What have you done to generate revenue that's going to make up for that 1 cent sales tax? What have you done? Mayor Top, what have you done? Jack shit, nothing. And another thing, you advertise a public meeting at 7 p.m. Why does it not start at 7 p.m.? And why is there not, if you're going to continue to do these non-live meetings, you're going to continue to do these Zoom meetings, why is there lack of access? Do you ever wonder why there's only 2 or 3 speakers sometimes? Because people have a lack of access to these meetings. You either need to go live, open up the council chambers and get people to attend these meetings, or you need to open up and figure out how to do these Zoom access better, because you are suppressing people's access. You're suppressing public access to these meetings. And you're lucky you don't have a lawsuit on a lot of things you guys do. It's bullshit, total bullshit. Get your shit together.
The next speaker is Camila Overbeek. You may begin.
I'm hoping you didn't start my time until just now. Camilla Overbeek, resident of Westminster. Oh, by the way, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Camilla Overbeek, resident of Westminster. Good evening, ringleader and circus performers. Honestly, that's the only fitting way to address this governing body at this point. You might also be wondering why on earth I have my Venmo and Cash App posted on my picture. Well, let me explain. At the special meeting regarding Measure SS held on March 14th, Kimberly Ho said, and I'm paraphrasing, voters keep talking about democracy, and if the voters want to vote on a tax measure so bad, let them put it on a ballot. They only have to get like 5,000 signatures. Well, Councilmember Ho, if that's how you feel about it, my Cash App and Venmo are open. You're asking residents to put it on the ballot and cover the cost for all of it. Well, just to file the notice of intent, it's $200. You want it done this way? Help cover the cost. Additionally, are you aware that if residents have to do it as a ballot initiative, the city still has to pay $3.40 per verified signature? Let's put that in perspective using rough numbers. We need approximately 5,200 signatures to qualify, but for good measure, we have to go and collect about 6,000, and that's still low. You're asking the city to use about $17,680 to between $20,400 of taxpayer money to do something this council could essentially do for free. My personal opinion is that if this is how this council wants to proceed, when residents are begging you to let them vote, you all should forfeit your salaries for the next 5 months. And yes, I said every single one of you. Mayor Taw, we all know that you make about $100,000 a year in all of the boards you sit on. You were voted in to do a job, and you're failing miserably. All the while you expect taxpayers to pay your bills. You're not entitled to the mental, emotional, physical, and intellectual labor of our residents for free. Additionally, Councilmember Ho, just 2 years ago, you voted yes for this, and all of a sudden you changed course. Could it be that you're seeking the OC GOP endorsement is more important to you than your constituents? Yep, and I'd put money on it. Because the last time you voted to let voters decide, the OC GOP wasn't happy with you and told you that you should let the city go bankrupt and figure it out later. Don't try and deny it. Too many people were present for that meeting. So yes, to all of my fellow residents, she is willing to let the city go bankrupt at the behest of the OC GOP. Also, she can have their endorsement. Let that sink in for just a moment. Kimberly Ho also asked that we begin thinking outside the box to bring in revenue. I contemplated writing to Maury Povich show to bring this circus to the masses. Unfortunately, after 30 years, it was just canceled. I guess I'll have to settle for reaching out to reality TV producers because As Westminster Turns has a good ring and it would at least bring in money, something none of you have done. Many of you have had years to find viable sources of revenue to save our city, and you failed. Yet your egos are too big and you can't admit your failures. You can't get out of your own way. This council is not behaving like a governing body. It literally is a B-rated version of a comedy show. Councilmember Doe, at the last regular council meeting, you subjected residents and city staff to over an hour and a half of interpreting YouTube clips. A fellow resident and I managed to play 30 games of cup pong during that time. Thank God for Game Pigeon on the iPhone. You owe residents, staff, and the interpreter an apology. Sitting on the dais does not mean that you're entitled to nonsense. Do your damn job and stop being concerned about your ego. As for the infighting, remember this. When someone says something that you immediately become defensive about, there is some truth to what they're saying. Sit in that uncomfiness and figure it out. Grow and learn about yourself. Figure out what you need to change. All of you need to go to therapy, but do it on your own time, not ours. And remember this, you don't have to participate in every argument you're freaking invited to. Behave better, be adults, and I've seen kindergartners behave better and solve problems better than this council.
Thank you. The next speaker is Deborah Mariscal. You may begin speaking.
Good evening, Deborah Mariscal, Westminster resident since 2000. My husband's family has been here since 1965. I don't have any of my feelings written out because I work a 60-hour week and I haven't really had time to do that. So I'm just going to say this. We have some phenomenal people that work for the city. Our interim city manager, who should actually be voted in to work full-time. Some of our other city employees that bust their behinds to do what's right for the city. I have to agree with some of the other folks that have already spoken. I have a lot of Asian friends who live outside of this city of Westminster. We are a complete and total laughing stock to the Asian community, except for the people who live here who may or may not have been brainwashed. If you're not willing to do what's best for the city instead of your own particular agenda, whether it's personal or political, then just step down. Let somebody else who actually gives a darn about what is going to happen to the city, to the employees, to our police department, to, you know, every piece of the employees who work hard for us, just step down. You know, if the city goes bankrupt, for those of you that believe you're going to be able to pursue a political ambition, guess what? The city going bankrupt is going to follow you. You're the ones that made this happen. So a couple of you have not been, you know, on the city council for that long. I excuse you, but for all of you, the city residents have the right to vote to determine whether they want to continue the tax. I would like to continue that. I love our police department. I love the people that work for the city. I don't want to see them go away. And I'm absolutely positive in my own mind that other cities are courting some of our fabulous employees that we have. This is going to go down as your legacy. Is that what you want? That's not what I want. And quite honestly, I am appalled and embarrassed to be a citizen and a resident of this city. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Terry Raines. You may begin.
Good evening, Terry Raines, Westminster. Even if council approves item 3.2 authorizing continued remote meetings, council should direct staff to begin hybrid meetings with both in-person and remote access immediately and eliminate restrictions that conflict with statewide orders. The Department of Public Health ended universal indoor masking on February 16th and for unvaccinated individuals indoors on March 1st. The governor's executive order in 522 on February 28th suspended Cal OSHA's emergency temporary standard that required unvaccinated workers to wear masks indoors and declared COVID an endemic. There are no mandates for social distancing or capacity limits in public spaces now. Based on these facts, the city must allow members of the public to make their own choices, whether or not to mask or social distance, whether to attend meetings in person or virtually. And all e-comments must be read into the record in full without exception. Regarding item 3.3, best practice is to require a second person to review or approve any city money transfers, even routine ones, between pre-authorized accounts, but that's not what our city does. In Placentia, a finance employee embezzled over $5 million. Westminster should implement stronger internal financial controls that exceed governmental standards to better protect taxpayer assets. Regarding item 3.4, the final reading and adoption of the district map ordinances. Thank you, council members Ho, Doe, and Manzo for approving both map 402 and 507 and for recognizing the hard work that the Westminster Redistricting Coalition and I put into creating the best maps possible. The staff report prepared by the city attorney's office, though, is a mess. I will probably send an email redlining the typos, inconsistencies, and format issues, as I've had to do a lot of lately. The warrant register item 3.8 for just 2 weeks shows 22 checks to Jones and Mayer totaling over $117,000. At the attorney's hourly rate of $238, that would equate to 493 hours. I am again asking the city manager to really scrutinize all Jones and Mayer invoices and hours billed. Thank you, Councilman Nguyen and Councilman Doe, for requesting the resolution in support of divestment from Russia and a statement of solidarity with the people of Ukraine, item 5.3. It is nice to see our council stand together on this. The city attorney's office prepared item 6.2, amending Article 2 of the Personnel Policy Manual, but it is not fully consistent with Ordinance 2579 regarding public official and employee interactions. Section 2 of this amended policy states, public officials should not attend meetings between city staff and other parties outside the city, including but not limited to permittees, applicants, developers, or consultants, unless they are specifically invited by the city manager to attend. Whereas Section 1B, Policy 1G of Ordinance 2579 merely states, public officials shall not attend meetings between city staff and private parties and developers, unless specifically requested by staff. The municipal code should be revised to include the additional examples of other parties and replace staff with city manager to be consistent with this policy and avoid any confusion or conflicts. At the March 9th meeting, I think again tonight, the interim city clerk announced an open application period for commission and committee vacancies with a filing deadline of March 14th. Yet the recruitment was not advertised on the city's website or social media, and nothing is on tonight's agenda. Once again, this very important process has slipped through the cracks at City Hall. Residents are outraged by this council's conduct and suppressing our right to vote. We endured over 2 hours, 16 minutes about fake news and countless more hours about a foreign war monument. Yet this council spent barely 30 minutes on the devastating impacts to our community if Measure SS is not renewed and didn't even discuss the report. Councilwoman Ho insulted residents, saying it's our job to spend months and our resources to get thousands of signatures to put a measure on the ballot because you four political hacks lack the testicular fortitude to do it. Her genius idea, council will come up with new revenue ideas like billboards. Ho has been in office almost 6 years, Ta 16 years, Nguyen and Doe both 4 years, but they haven't done shit to create new revenue and help our city in that entire time. Ta flip-flopped his 2016 position on our right to vote, as did Ho. In 2020, Ho cried, saying, I don't want to see layoffs. The voters should be able to make this choice. I don't think we as council members should be making the decision for them, blah, blah, blah. Then she motioned to put a 1.5% tax measure on the ballot with no sunset and begged her colleagues to join her. Now, she and Ta don't give a crap about us because their sights are set on Sacramento. This council's legacy will be bankrupting our city. Lu Hen Nyek. Cowards. And thank you, Christian, for clarifying that my Zoom image does not violate the rules of decorum. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If I could ask Kit, the interpreter, to please ask if anyone wishes to speak, to please raise their hand at this time.
Vào lúc này, nếu có quý vị nào muốn phát biểu, xin giơ tay lên cho chúng tôi biết là quý vị muốn phát biểu. Quý vị có thể giơ tay lên bằng cách là chạm vào cái biểu tượng của hình bàn tay ở trên cái màn hình của quý vị. Xin cảm ơn. Thank you.
Thank you. So if anyone else is wishing to speak, this would be the time to raise your hand. Mayor, I don't see anyone else raising their hand. That concludes oral communications. And just for the record, there were no e-comments received for tonight's meeting.
Okay, so much for that. And I close oral communication. Next, we have consent calendar. All matters this under the consent calendar I consider routine and may be approved by a single motion, followed by a roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless member of City Council or staff request a specific item be removed from the consent calendar for a separate action or discussion.
I'm going to pull, Mayor, I want to pull item 3.2.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to pull item 3.4.
All right.
And I move to approve the rest of them.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the consent calendar, but item 3.2 and 3.4. Roll call vote.
Thank you, Mayor. The motion was made by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Vice Mayor Manzo, to approve the consent calendar as presented with the exclusion of a consent calendar item 3.2 and 3.4. Councilmember Doe?
Yes.
Councilmember Ho?
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Manzo?
Yes.
Mayor Cha?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, item 3.2, resolution to continue authorizing the conduct of remote or telephonic meetings during the state of emergency.
Yes, I would like to recommend us going back to in-person meeting at I would say our next scheduled meeting. And I think as far as some of the recommendations on here, I think I think we can adjust those. I think I spoke to the city manager about this. As far as the social distancing is concerned, I think we stay with the state and county recommendations as far as social distancing and masking being removed, that we can allow for more attendance into the council chambers. We follow the guidelines from this county and state. I would like to amend some of that, amend those to allow for either full attendance, full capacity, and strong recommendation on masks.
We can certainly do that. That would put us in line with our emergency services coordinator's report from today of what the recommendations are. So we will certainly do that.
And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that from the report earlier that everyone attend the meeting, if they are in the council chambers, they have to wear masks.
So we're going to change that to be in line with what the current guidelines are, which is just for recommendations.
Okay.
It's recommended. So we'd be back at full capacity in the chambers. Full capacity being the number of seating. So we're not entertaining people blocking the aisles or, some of the overflow that we've done before. In case we do have overflow, we will, set up for overflow like we did before in like the East-West room over at the Community Services Building, have a TV outside to accommodate that. But yes, the face masks, we won't be requiring those. It's just recommended if you feel safer wearing them in the chambers. I do want to comment on, there was a comment that was made by a public speaker regarding, e-comments being read. I just wanted to note that, we are planning on going hybrid, which means that people on Zoom will be able to watch what is happening in the council chambers. So that's what we've been trying to play around with our system for the last 4 months or so, and trying to fine tune that for this type of a meeting. As far as e-comments go, the point of allowing public participation is that members of the public can address the city council. And so we have that opportunity for people to, they'll be able to call in via Zoom, they'll be able to attend in person to speak. Written comments that were in the past, prior to COVID, written comments that were received in the record, they were simply just given to the city council. So there was no reading of e-comments. When it came to public hearings, comments that came for public hearings, those were attached as part of the staff report if they were in time, and then they would also be included as late communication if they were provided after the fact, and they would be given to the council in advance. But it certainly wasn't read into the record. It would be reflected in the record as received, but not read. So I wanted to make that distinction, that it's not required, it's not legally required for e-comments to be read. But, since we're going back in person, the ability for people to show up and speak will still be there. People still can call in. People can still submit written comments. It's just the written comments that will be submitted will still be provided to the council. They just won't be verbally read by our staff, for the meeting. They just won't verbally be read. So I just wanted to make that clear.
May I ask if if we go hybrid, would the council members have to wear a mask?
No, it's just so again, strongly recommended, especially if you're not vaccinated, but we are not requiring that you need to wear a mask. For those who tuned in and remember, on January 1st or January 5th, we had an in-person meeting, because the thought at the time was that we were going to go in person, but then of course, with the Omicron variant, that kind of changed what we were doing. But at that time, we had these panels that were in front of every single council member seat. And I just wanted to note that those have been removed. So if there was an issue as far as using your mask and, projecting out in the audience, it was muffled, having to wear a mask and having the front panel, and that did not help with the acoustics, unfortunately. But we did since remove those front panels. So there's still separators between each of you on the dais. There's still, there's still panels around the public speaker podium, as well as, staff areas. But that should, by removing those front panels, that should help with the audio issues that we were having back then.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And a council member can request a certain e-comment to be read in its entirety, correct?
So that becomes a slippery slope if you're wanting certain e-comments to be read, because then it puts us in a place of, why are we allowing just these comments to be read and not all? And when we're looking at e-comments, it's really meant for, we want to be fair with everyone's, with everyone's with everyone's comment, what they're trying to address the council with. So certainly, you would be allowed to ask for certain things to be read, but I would just caution that. And of course, for us, we're not going to arbitrarily read certain ones as well, unless we receive that direction. But there's nothing that says that you couldn't. Okay. It's just we as staff wouldn't recommend it.
Thank you.
I have questions.
Sure.
Okay, so the in-person meeting, then we allow everybody to speak in front of the city council, right? So residency is not a requirement to speak. Is that correct?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. Any member of the public who wants to address the city council within, regarding a subject within your jurisdiction is allowed to speak, which is why we have business owners that come in and speak from, that don't live in the city, people from community groups that are not necessarily connected with the city, but might be interested in a topic that you're talking about. It's certainly part of that freedom of speech. So yes, and anyone can come and speak to you as long as it's something within your jurisdiction.
Okay, thank you. And could you make sure that the audio's fixed? Thank you.
Yes, yes,
I couldn't
absolutely.
hear anything the last time that we have a
Last
meeting.
time it was not the best setup. We were trying it out, and you just don't know how bad it is until you're all in the room and figuring it out. So we've been working on it.
I love the audio that we have on YouTube and Zoom. It's just perfectly clear. But inside the council, it's just like muffling. I mean, the technology or whatever. It's just I couldn't hear anything. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, with that being said, I motion to approve with the mask strongly recommended and a full capacity as the limit of the building is concerned.
Thank you. Second.
So just to clarify though, what we're asking is for adoption of this resolution to still, to still allow, just in case there are other groups that want to, maybe the Commission on Aging, a little tough for them to get around, right? So you're still adopting this resolution,
Yes,
but
correct.
City Council is coming back in person, and that would be the meeting of April 13th.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, we have the motion and second on the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And that motion was made by Vice Mayor Manzo, seconded by Councilmember Doe to approve the resolution to continue a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Westminster, making the legally required findings to continue to authorize the conduct of remote telephonic meetings during the state of emergency, to include for full capacity, and amending the recommendation to be consistent with the CDC guidelines. Councilmember Doe?
Yes.
Councilmember Ho?
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Manzo?
Yes.
Mayor Cha?
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. And next item, 3.4, adoption of ordinance number 2585 to conduct second reading and adopt 4 district map, 402, and establish council district boundary, and ordinance number 2584 to conduct second reading and adopt 5 district map, 507, and establish council district boundaries and election sequence.
Yes, Mayor and council members, staff. The reason for me to pull this item, I do have a couple questions for staff and the city attorney. From the headlines for the 3.4, I do agree that the 2585, the ordinance number 2585 to conduct the second reading. But I don't know, is it 2584 to conduct the second reading also, or is the first reading? Because I know that we have adopted the 5 district map just a meeting ago. So I don't know that we have gone through the first reading for the 5 district map. And the second, okay, go ahead.
Let me answer that real quickly. At the meeting at the end of February, the city council took a vote to select the 4 district map, 402, but you did not do the first reading of the ordinance. You just selected the map. And then we started talking about the 5 district, and you decided to continue the public hearing to the next meeting. So at the next meeting, which was the last one, you did a first reading of both maps at that time. You did 402, and then separately you selected map 507 for the 5 districts. So you did both first readings at the last council meeting, and now you need to conduct a second reading of both ordinances.
Okay, even though that we just adopted the 5 district map in the last meeting.
Yeah, you did both of them,
Okay.
separate
All right.
votes,
Okay.
but first readings. Yes.
Just clarify. And the second question is, we have to vote 2 separate item, right? Item A and B.
Yes, we could certainly do that.
Okay, so
You
with
may,
that,
you have a different vote on each item, then we could take a separate vote on each one.
so with that, I move as recommended to adopt ordinance 2585, which is for the 4-district map.
Is there a second?
A second.
All right, we have the motion and second to approve part A of item 3.4. The motion and second on floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And that motion was made by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Vice Mayor Monzo, to conduct second reading, read by title only, waive further reading, and adopt ordinance 92585 entitled, An Ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Westminster establishing the redistrict boundaries of each electoral district for districts, thereby adopting map 402, the election sequence, and the 4-district boundaries. Councilmember Doe,
Yes.
Councilmember Ho,
But item 3.4 has A and B.
correct. This would be for
Yes,
item.
yes, and so we're just voting on A first, and then we'll vote on item B second.
Are you sure?
Yes, we can do
What?
that.
I mean, I thought you do item A and. Okay, so.
Well,
as
if it's
long
on
as
the
we're gonna do
consent
B,
calendar, if
as
it's on
long as we're
consent
gonna
calendar,
do-
you could approve all on the consent calendar under one vote, but in this case, we've pulled it. So we should take them separately. And so we're taking item A at this point. The 4-district map.
Okay. Okay, yes.
Councilmember Nguyen,
Yes,
Vice Mayor Monzo,
Yes.
Mayor Ta,
Yes,
motion carries 5-0.
Motion to approve item B on item 3.4.
Second,
right, we have a motion and second to approve B.
This is
Roll call
order
vote.
25, just to be clear, 2584.
Yes,
5-district map.
ordinance 2584.
Yes. Lucy, you're
Clerk, you have to unmute
unmuted.
yourself.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch who the maker of the motion and the second was. I
think Vice Mayor make the motion, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Councilmember Doe, second the motion.
I
thank
believe
you.
Councilmember Ho, wasn't it?
Oh, Councilmember Ho, sorry. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So the motion was made by Vice Mayor Monzo, seconded by Councilmember Doe, to conduct second reading, read by title only, waive further reading, and adopt ordinance number 2584, entitled, An Ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Westminster establishing the redistricting boundaries of each electoral district, 5 districts, thereby adopting map 507, the election sequence, and the 5-district boundaries.
Ms.
Councilmember Doe,
Colombo, Ms. Colombo, just to be clear, Councilmember Ho was the second, not Doe.
thank you for that clarification.
Okay, yes.
So the second was made by Councilmember Ho. Thank you. Councilmember Doe,
Yes.
Councilmember Ho,
yes.
Councilmember Nguyen,
Councilmember
abstain.
Nguyen,
abstain. I stand by with the reason that I have before.
Vice Mayor Monzo,
Yes.
and Mayor Tom.
abstain.
Motion carries 3-0 with 2 abstentions.
All right. Next, I'd like to open public hearings. Can you read item, can you read information?
Thank you, Mayor. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, changes have been made to the public hearing process in order to ensure members of the public that they may be able to participate remotely. Members of the public who wish to address the council were able to submit their items and comments in writing. In lieu of written comments, members of the public are also able to speak tonight by raising their hands. during the Zoom process, and they will be allowed time to speak. 5 minutes. Just a minute.
Thank you so much. Item 4.1, continue to from February 23rd, 2022 meeting, public hearing, resolution to authorize participation in the statewide community infrastructure program. So first, I'd like to have a staff report, please.
Yes, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. I'm Debbie Carita, the Interim Community Development Department Director. For this item, Ryan Salz, the Management Analyst for the Community Development Department, will provide a brief overview. After his presentation, Ryan and I will be available to answer any questions.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. At the February 23rd, 2022 meeting, a public hearing was held to consider the city's participation in the statewide community infrastructure program, also known as SCIP. To summarize the program overview given in that meeting, SCIP allows developers or property owners to finance the cost of public infrastructure, facilities, and development impact fees. Through the utilization of tax-exempt financing, SCIP can reduce initial development costs and allow repayment over time at a low interest rate. The program has the opportunity to serve the City of Westminster as a valuable economic development tool and promote future development in the community. It is important to note that the city has the sole authority to accept or deny applications for SCIP on a case-by-case basis. The authorization of joining SCIP today does not approve any specific project's participation, only the ability for a local developer or property owner to apply for the program. At the February meeting, Council continued the item in order to provide time for more research of the program and to ask additional questions. Today's staff report contains a list of those questions and associated answers. This concludes my brief overview of this item. We're now available to answer any additional questions you may have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Any questions or concerns from a member of City Council before I ask for public comments, please?
Could you clarify number 8? Question Q&A number 8.
Number 8, in the event that a developer participates in SCIP, what benefit is provided to future property owners?
Yeah, I just have a problem understanding the last few sentences. Explain how the future property owners could expect an increased savings on the sale price of the property. Increased savings, the property owners increase, the future property owners. When you say that, are you talking about the first property owner, or like after you pass it on? Like if they sold to the second property owner, which one?
Yes, so what I was trying to get at there was that the interest rate that is offered through SCIP would be at a fixed interest rate of 3 to 3.5% versus a higher interest rate they'd get on the private market. So going down to the point that you were saying about the savings, it's just saying that theoretically in a situation where the developer is able to save money, they're also able to, the buyer is able to have a different willingness to pay and on their end. So it could come out in the middle where it benefits both of them. For every project, for every sale, it could be different, but they would be able to hypothetically be able to have a still higher return on investment without necessarily having a lower, it could be a different sale price, but they would have a higher return on investment. If that makes sense. Or
well, that last statement is just quite misleading, but I get what you mean. Yes.
Okay, I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Could have made that more clear.
That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other question from member of the council? If not, I'd like to open for public comments.
So this is the time anyone wishing to speak may raise their hand. And at this time, we have Terry Raines. You have 5 minutes. You may begin.
Good evening, Terry Raines, Westminster. I spoke at the February 23rd public hearing about this item and presented council with a lot of important information that was missing from the biased staff report. Public hearing staff reports must be written absent any semblance of confirmation or information bias. As a reminder, confirmation bias is the tendency to search for, interpret, and favor information in a way that confirms or supports the author's position. Information bias is when the author presents highly selected facts that lean to a certain outcome. As a result of my comments, a few questions and answers and minimal new information was added to tonight's staff report, which is still biased. Again, one would assume this is a fabulous idea with absolutely no risk or only benefits to the city and residents. I will once again provide a more balanced report. SKIP is a program of the California Statewide Communities Development Authority. For eligible private development projects, SKIP provides non-recourse financing of A, eligible development impact fees, excluding school, housing, fire, and police fees payable to the city, or B, eligible project required public capital improvements. The authority issues tax-exempt revenue bonds. The proceeds from the bonds are used to finance qualified project input fees and/or improvements. Revenues to pay debt service on the bonds are derived by the authority in one of two ways. One, through the levy of special assessments on the project parcels by establishing assessment districts, most common, or two, through the levy of special taxes on the project parcels by establishing community facilities districts. As I reported in February, only 4 cities in Orange County participate in SKIP, which has been around for 20 years: Anaheim, Santa Ana, Newport Beach, and Dana Point. The other 30 cities in the county do not participate. Ask yourselves again, if this program is such a great opportunity with absolutely no risk or downside, why isn't every member city of the authority in Orange County participating? As I also presented in February, there are risks to the city and its taxpayers by participating in SKIP. This program incentivizes developers to build projects in the city that might not pencil out attractively for them otherwise. It allows development impact fees or project required capital improvements to be financed through the authority and placed on new properties as an assessment, increasing the developer's profit margin. SKIP transfers the responsibility for development impact fees or required capital improvements from the developer and places it on the property owners. Development impact fees and project required public capital improvements lower profit margins for developers, primarily those building commercial and industrial developments where margins are slim to begin with. Transferring the obligation from developers to property owners will reduce the property's value due to the sizable annual assessment burden placed on the property. The higher effective monthly cost drives down the capacity and ability for buyers to afford these properties. When an additional assessment is placed on the buyer, the overall affordability goes down and the price they are willing to pay goes down, resulting in lower property values. And this program converts an investment risk for the developer to a purchase risk for the buyer. Increased assessment cost on property owners not only decreases the value of those developed properties, it also negatively impacts sales of unrelated existing properties by way of depressed comp values. The end result, lower overall property tax revenue for the city. The very small number of cities that have joined likely did so after identifying a specific project that the program would be used for. The city has not identified a specific project. Virtually all of these cities that participate are in high growth areas with an abundance of open land where housing is being rapidly built. Sacramento Valley, Riverside County, San Diego County, etc. Westminster is completely built out. Question number 8 asked, what benefits is provided to the future property owners? The answer provided is incomplete, as Ms. Ho said, misleading and biased. There is no real financial benefit to property owners, especially future ones, when developers use SKIP financing. It lowers property values, makes new buyers hesitant to purchase these properties due to the sizable annual assessment burden on the property, and causes them to lowball their offers. This in turn depresses comparable property values in the area. Furthermore, there are other fixed rate, lower interest rate loan options available to qualified developers, not just variable private lender hard money loans at 8% or higher, as the answer would lead you to believe. Question number 9 asked, are there any negative impacts associated with SKIP? The answer provided is vague, incomplete, and biased, and my comments tonight provide a more comprehensive, unbiased answer to this question. Even the staff report's conclusion is incomplete and biased. Council, there are plenty of ways to incentivize developers to build projects in our city that will not result in negative impacts on property owners, current and future, depress property values, and lower property sales, property tax revenues. I hope you will again consider my testimony tonight, ask more pointed questions of staff, and very carefully weigh the pros and cons of participating in SKIP before you vote. Thank you.
All right, City Clerk, do we have any other speaker?
Thank you. If Kit, the interpreter, could please interpret. If anyone wishes to speak, to please raise their hand at this time.
Lúc này nếu có quý vị nào muốn phát biểu, xin giơ tay lên thì chúng tôi biết là quý vị muốn phát biểu. Và quý vị có thể giơ tay lên bằng cách chạm vào cái biểu tượng của bàn tay ở trên cái màn hình của quý vị. Xin cảm ơn. Thank you.
Thank you, Kit. If there's anyone else wishing to speak on the public hearing item, please raise your hand at this time. Mayor, at this time, no one else has raised their hand and there were no e-comments provided.
All right, thank you so much. So I'd like to close public comment. I have a few questions for staff. I know that staff already have that in the report. Yeah, I know that staff already have, all the information, all the questions or concerns in the report, but I just want to ask for the record. So, so this program is not going to cost our city anything. Am I correct?
You are correct.
All right. And the developer or property owner, they're not required to participate in the program. Am I correct?
You are correct.
And if the developer or property owner would like to apply for the tax exempt in this program, they need to submit application, and our city, we have the full authority to either approve or deny the project. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, so that's all my question. Councilmember Nguyen.
Yes, thanks for asking those questions. I do have the same thing. But just to add on to provide it to the property owner and business developers, and they are solely have the option to decide whether they want to join or not. If they decide not to join, then is their choice to do it or not. The second thing is that if they decided to join, is there any risk for the city? There are two questions. Can you answer, please?
Yes, it's up to them whether they want to join. And as far as the risk goes, no, there's no risk. When these bonds are issued, the city is paid, and then the risk goes on to the municipal bondholders. So let's say there was a foreclosure or something like that, which we addressed in the 20 years of operating the program, there has not been a foreclosure. It wouldn't be something that anybody comes after the city for money. We would be completely separate from it, and the administrative work as well that goes into issuing these bonds would also not be on city staff. It would be on CSCDA, who runs the program.
I just
Thank
want to
you.
clarify.
I know that after the meeting, last meeting, I have a chance to talk to staff, lengthy about, deeply into this, and I do understand, most of them. Those are the two questions that I have. At this point here, I don't have anything else. I move to approve.
May I ask a question before we vote? Mr.
Please.
Management Analyst Ryan Salt.
Can I just confirm first if there's a second? We should get that first and then hold the vote while comments are made. Is there a second to that? To
Second.
approve? Okay.
Now you're going to call the question if you have a second, right?
No, I mean, like, I allow
Yeah,
Councilmember Ho speak, if Councilmember Ho have another question, please speak.
No, that the other one was just a clarification when I asked, but what I wanted to, forgot. Okay, so Mr. Analyst, who do you work for?
Community Development Department.
Us, right? Our city?
Yes.
How long you been on the job? I mean, your professional, career, your whole career.
In the city of Westminster, or
No, not just your career, without getting into your resume and all that.
about
An analyst.
5 years since I've graduated from college.
5 years, okay. So, I spent an hour with the interim
Community Development Director, and the Management Analyst, Brian Saltz. And I'm sure everybody else has too, of the council members. You know, I really feel, I mean, I understand, and I'm very skeptical, and I want to make sure when I vote, I understand what I'm voting on. And I have one question before I proceed with my comments, is that skip something that is cancelable. I'm sure I asked this question before in our meeting, but I don't remember what you said. Is it cancelable at any time, or we don't give them anything, don't pay anything, so there's no penalty? But while you're at it, could you comment on any penalties?
Yeah, so as far as being cancelable, I assume you just mean participating in the program. Yes, it's, for example, Santa Ana actually did something similar to us where they didn't have a project at the time, which is common with SKIP, and they passed a resolution to be a part of SKIP, and they are still part of SKIP, but they just don't use it, which would probably be something similar to what you're talking about, is if we would just have SKIP there as an economic development tool, but we would never have to use it, and it would never come into play if we never accepted an application. So I hope that answers your question. I'm sure we could pass a resolution to get out of it as well, but I don't know if that would be needed.
Okay, well, to me, I just think, I mean, I think if Anaheim, Laguna, Newport Beach, and then Santa Ana, you know, those four are doing something, and those are big cities, you know? So, and then, I mean, if there were risks, I would say, I'd like to talk to them. But it sounds like our risks are probably none, or say extremely, extremely low, you know, maybe investment of our time to pass a resolution. And, you know, I do trust in the ability of our interim director of development, community development, and also our Ryan Saltz management analyst. So, and I do believe that this is a very, very good economic development tool. And it does provide an incentive to invest in our city. I don't like us to, like, every single program we come up with, or like, you know, let's make sure that we don't say no to everything, okay? But there's always downside, there's always, you know, but in this program, I do not see, and I just think, as a builder myself, I think, you know, having a fixed rate of between 3 and 3.5% for a project, you know, a project you're talking about not a residential, you know, construction projects tend to cost a lot more. So 3.5%, that's really, really good. And so, yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say. I had a lot of questions, like, for instance, when I was in the meeting, I talked about prepayment penalty was one of my concerns. And so I see that you made that number 7 there. So there's like, you incur 3% prepayment penalty, and before year 10 of the 30-year obligation, and after year 10, prepayment penalty will be eliminated. Well, they have to make some money, you know? I mean, if we're going to enter a program and it's really not our city, this is not a penalty to our city, right? So, and I think that business people or builders, especially experienced ones, even you know, it's on their money, it's on their dime. They will make an assessment, and they will to go with the program or not to go with the program. But this is just our offering to them. You know, it's a tool, or it's just an offer. It's an opportunity. This is something that they maybe a chance in 10 or 20 developments. You know, they'll use this program. They'll make use of it. But to say that our city is built out, it is built out, but I think we also consider the ones that are like really run down, right? Let's say, is that correct? So it's like if they want to build a mall, they bulldoze everything over. They want to build another mall or low-income housing or something like that. And that could be used for that, right? So there's no law that says, there's no rule that says that, hey, if you already have an existing building there, whether it's a dump or rundown building or not, you can't use this, you can't take advantage of this program. Is there?
Yeah, no, there's nothing like that. That would not be an issue.
Yeah, so I would say there's no risk, so why not? So I would totally be in favor. Thank you.
If you're done, I'd make a couple comments. Ryan, can you? I know the Terry Raines had spoke about the risk of depressed property values and taxes of that nature. That would be for the seller of the property to, try to attract the buyer for their the property they use these funds, this program for, correct?
Yes, so the sale price could essentially be lower because of the assessments that are also going to be incurred.
Yeah, and then that's for the owner, the property, to incur that and that burden, I guess you would call it.
So they would get a lower sale price, but the property value as well would be lower, yes.
Yes.
Well, may I just interject, because that also caught my attention when I came across that comment. And who would want to have a lower price property, correct? But it's all because you have to adjust for the loan that they're going to have to take over. So if they still have to continue with this loan, then, but in the end, it's just, you just do the math and it'll come out the same. So they're not really taking a lower value, or it's not going to devalue their property and they can't sell it for a market rate. They just have to take the market rate and adjust for the loan that's still in place.
But in
Once
the
it's paid off, then you don't have to do that. It would be at one.
At the end, before a potential developer would use this program, they would know that going in, correct? And they would need to weigh those options as well. I think you mentioned, the Santa Ana has this program, correct? And from what I know, Santa Ana has been doing a lot of redevelopment because they're also a built out community as we are. And from what I understand, they have not used it to this point. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so, but it's there. I think I look at it as, our city can definitely use some redevelopment, as you all know. And if this is a program that can attract a potential developer, then I would think that's a positive. The way I would see it, I saw it initially, is after learning about this and speaking to Ryan and Debbie, is I think you take it as a saying that goes that it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So it can attract a potential developer, and I think we definitely can use that. So yeah, I think it's something that we should have on our toolbox, and I think I would be in favor of using it, having it there. So thank you.
I have questions. Could someone explain it to me, the benefit of the tax exempt financing? What does that mean to the property owner?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I think you broke up a bit.
What is the benefit for the tax exempt financing? How does the owner take advantage of the tax exempt financing?
So as we addressed, we can't necessarily know exactly what the sale price might be, but effectively the developer would have lower costs that go into it if they don't have to pay all of this upfront or take on a loan that's going to have a higher interest rate. So ultimately, they're going to need to still get a return on investment for their investment that they're developing this property and they're going to sell it. So sometimes it can make a development more feasible for them to actually develop certain things, so that could be there in the first place that may not have been able to be there. And if they are going to develop it and they're going to get that return on investment, then they are going to probably lower that sale price. And as Kimberly Ho, Councilmember Ho, pointed out earlier, that once she, I think that, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
I think if I could step in here, I think.
Thank you.
You know, and you guys can correct me here. The city, when somebody comes in, especially with a larger project, there are certain things we will insist that they must put in. Sewer lines, upgrading water lines. There's things that they have to do before we can install those things. Now, the developer may have to pay all of that upfront out of their pocket. But what this program does is let some of those types of expenses that are quite expensive to instead shift that off onto under and bond for it, and allow the people who ultimately purchase those residences to pay it off over a 30-year period. They're paying off those bonds. This becomes something that they pay annually. So, and it has to be disclosed when it is sold. So when people are buying this, it's all open and they're aware of it. The price, when they go to sell it, they're not going to be able to sell it for as much, because the people who buy it know that they're going to have a monthly payment of $300, $400. It depends on really how much was put in under this extra that they're going to have to pay. And so people aren't going to want to pay $300, $400 more and still pay the same prices they could get for another unit down the road where that isn't there. So that's what they're talking about. The price would be less. It has to be built in, but it's all disclosed. And so this is just a method of the developer getting to finance.
I understand all that,
improvements.
Christians. I understand all that, Christians, but my question is number A, it's a favorable tax exempt. Okay, how do we tax exempt that financing? What does that mean? How does the property owner can take advantage of the tax exempt? Could you explain it to me?
If I may, the SKIP program is the mechanism by which they are able to use the tax exempt financing. It's through that program that they can actually use it allows them to use tax exempt financing, which lowers the interest rate because it's through the state program. Does that answer your question?
It's just a lower interest rate. It's not exempting from tax. So exempt from being taxed. Am I correct?
Yeah, so the tax exempt financing allows it to be a lower interest rate than a private bond or a private loan.
Oh, okay. So it's okay. Confused. That's the confusion right there. It's the source of the money, the tax exempt money, not the property owner who got the tax exempt. So okay, that's kind of confusing right there, and it doesn't have to be there. So okay, thank you.
Yeah, the people who buy the bonds that actually give the money, they get tax exempt bonds. So it's the proceeds there. I guess the income on that would be tax exempt for the people who buy the bond.
Yeah, I understand, but that two words right there is kind of confusing. It tend to make the reader believe that this is the program that you participate in. This program, you can get some of the tax exempt from participation in this SKIP. So, thank you. So there's no tax exempt for anybody who participates in this program. Just to source the money. That's what it means.
Exactly.
Thank you.
All right, if there is no other question or concerns, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Mayor. And that motion was made by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Mayor Ta, for a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Westminster authorizing the city to join the statewide Community Infrastructure Program, authorizing the California Statewide Communities Development Authority to accept applications from property owners, conduct special assessment proceedings and levy assessments and special taxes, and to form assessment districts and community facility districts within the territory of the City of Westminster, embodying a joint community facilities agreement setting forth the terms and conditions of community facilities district financings, approving form of acquisition agreement for use when applicable, and authorizing related actions. Councilmember Doe?
I'm going to abstain my vote.
Thank you. Councilmember Ho? Councilmember Ho?
Who brought this up?
Pardon? It came from the Community Development Department as a part of the economic development tool.
No one influenced you? No one asked you to bring it up? I have to be so careful with this council. I apologize.
Oh, no, in actuality, it was initiated and the research on it was initiated before I became the interim director. So it had been something that the department had been looking at for some time.
Okay. Well, thank you for everything that you've done to research and bring this forth. I vote yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Monzo?
Yes.
Mayor Tom?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0 with 1 abstention.
All right.
Thank you.
Next item, 5.1, authorization to increase vehicle fuel purchase order for fiscal year 21-22 from $330,000 to $430,000 and increase the motor pool supplies budget by $100,000 to cover higher fuel costs for fiscal year 21 and 22.
I move to approve.
Second.
I have a couple before we move.
Please.
Thanks for, yes, thank you, Mayor, for interim city manager. I think from what I understand, we're already, our HR department is looking into the, or maybe it's Public Works Director, no. As far as the vehicles that our city owns that are take-home vehicles, we're looking into which vehicles are justifiable to take home. Are we looking into that? And if not, reduce those vehicles for not remove them from take-home vehicles. Are we looking into that?
I'll answer that. We are looking into that. That is an ongoing project that our HR is basically looking into. Not only is Public Works assessing the vehicles that we have, but we're actually trying to identify positions in which there is a legitimate need to take home a vehicle. So yes, that's in progress.
And would you bring that back to us with those findings? I mean, or how would you do that? Or that was just something that would be determined by your city manager, and then any changes that need to be done are come from your authority?
Yeah, because so when it comes to take home vehicles, it's really about department assessment and the workload and the type of position and why someone would need to take home a vehicle. So, informationally, we can provide that information. I'm not sure, usually that information be provided, in consistent with when we're trying to renew a lease or look at the amount of vehicles or, or whatnot. But I mean, we can still provide it.
Yeah, because if we determine that an X amount of vehicles don't need to be a take-home vehicle, that needs to be addressed, because that's a lot of fuel costs there, added fuel costs.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that is really internal, administrative accountability, and it's management accountability, and it's, it's ultimately something that we do on our back end. It's been something that's been brought up for years. You know, I remember it being as early as when I first started here. That's a conversation that's always, you know, that's always out there as far as, does a particular position require a person to have a take-home vehicle? So given that we actually have an HR director that is very proactive, that's something that she's been looking into. So
So you said that it's been for years, so how much longer will it's going to take? And then, and when if the findings are, you know, when the findings are done, how long would it take to implement those findings?
well, it's not really so as far as having the discussion for years, it's always been a concern that somebody brings up at the council or, you know, or at staff, as far as why does somebody have a take-home vehicle? As far as what anyone's done, I can't speak for any of my predecessors, and we know that conversation on predecessors always goes down a rabbit hole. So that being said, as far as findings that we have, you know, whatever findings that we have, I mean, it's really a discussion of who we have now, what positions we have now, what those positions do, and if they need to take home a vehicle. It's not, you know, it's not a science project per se. It's just identifying those people in those jobs. Why it's taken years? Well, we've had change in staff. Obviously, we've also had change in duties of, you know, particular roles in certain departments. You know, ones that absolutely have to have a take-home vehicles are really the ones that are on call and have to show up to a, you know, a scene off hours, for example. You know,
My concern is, so if we do that study, we need to, I mean, move on. We can't just, I mean, you know, our financial situation, and we need to find ways to tighten our belts and find cost savings, you know, wherever we can. So we need to kind of move on that, I think, sooner rather than later. The other one that I think we need to research is, you know, that I would want you to research is that the cost difference between leasing a gas-powered vehicle and an electric vehicle. What is the cost difference there, and all the associated costs to go with those vehicles? And if, you know, I think we should look into that and provide us some information on that. And if there is a cost savings, that we need to phase out the vehicles that can be used. And there's some certain vehicles that our city uses that cannot be EV, and there's certain vehicles that can. And we need to really move on that and research that, because we need to start looking at where we can save money.
So to answer, absolutely. So staff has been looking at different options for example, the work truck right now, the F-150 lining this electric trucks that's available out there, but it takes about 2 or 3 years of backlog. So last year we ordered a batch of one F-150. It's a year later it's available. So we constantly contact, you know, talking to our vendors and see when those will be available to us. And we absolutely going to go toward that direction. As of right now, we currently have 9 hybrid PD SUV. So those are the vehicles that actually also save gas as well. So I'll go in the future until the police grade electric vehicles available, we continue doing the hybrid to save the gas for that. And currently we have about 3 EV within our fleet and 1 electric bus.
Yeah, but we also have some other city vehicles that are for, I would say maybe code enforcement, you know, building inspectors and other type of vehicles that can be EV, correct?
Yes.
I mean, there's more than that.
Correct. So once the lease is up, we're pretty much going to look at what options are available for us, and we absolutely going to try to gear toward the EV vehicles for it. And since we also have chargers available to charge those vehicles as well. Currently in the Civic Center, we have about 14 chargers, 11 in the parking structure, 3 in the parking lot behind the community services, and we have 4 at the yard.
Okay. And is there any other, if we need more charging stations, is there any grant funding available for that?
We continue looking for that as far as it's an environment that we actually can monitor and control. And also there's a need for that as well.
Okay. So I would like to see, that making some progress on that. Thank you.
Questions. So the police vehicles, we use some of the electric models.
We have
Explorer?
We have the hybrid.
Hybrid, yeah.
Hybrid Explorer. We have 9 of those units in our fleet.
You mean Explorer? Are those Explorer?
Yes.
Oh my, okay, wow.
And all the new PD vehicle will be going toward hybrid instead of just gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Explorers. Terrible vehicle, very difficult to fix, real expensive to maintain. But you know what? I just feel off my X350 Tang, and it's like $6.35 a gallon. Oh my goodness! I mean, it used to be like $55, now $113. So $100,000 increase for the next budget. Is that enough?
Well, will take us to the end of this fiscal year, which is end of June 30th of 2022. But this $100,000 also cover a small contingency in case there's the pricing of the fuel continue to rise from now.
Continue to go up.
Yes, and then we'll assess it for next budget. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed the city vehicle have a lot of hybrid, and mostly Toyota, right? Mostly Toyota.
I think we have
Prius.
Yeah. No, we have some Rose, some Nissan Rose. We have the our PD, and a lot of work trucks are F-150.
So there is a gas station inside the public yard?
Correct.
Or
we have a gas and a diesel station. We also supply to the OCFA engine as well.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Mayor.
Councilmember Holt, please.
Yeah. Okay. As I was reading this item, several things came to mind. I understand that when you bid on a project or whole bidding process, I don't necessarily agree with us having to go with the lowest bidder, but I believe that is the law. Is that correct?
Responsible
City manager, yeah. City attorney.
Yeah, for public works projects, we have to go with the lowest responsible bidder. That's correct. And our own policies then govern how we deal with purchases of supplies, materials, equipment, and services. That's dealt with separately under our code. And we do have competitive bidding requirements. It's not always necessary to go with the lowest bidder if there's unique factors related to a particular, let's say we all have one particular type of vehicle and we want to buy more of those vehicles because we maintain those, and it would be difficult to have multiple different kinds, like a sole source kind of a thing. There's different reasons why you might not have to go with the lowest bidder, but typically we do try to go with the lowest bid on most.
And it's not against, someone told me it was the law. Is it not? I just want to know.
For public works projects, it is the law.
Say for instance, something like this. This is not considered a project, right? This is purchase of fuel, correct?
As I understand it, this is vehicles?
This is just bid. We do a fuel bid, bid for fuel.
This is fuel bid, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
SC Fuels Inc. for fuels only, correct?
Correct.
So my thoughts are this is number one, this is so unfair because as you could see, this is a 5-year contract, renewable contract. So it's a 5-year contract. And this is like the second year. And they were the lowest bidder. I do not like the games that are being played. And I do believe, I'm not happy with someone who was the lowest bidder. And then now it's like only the second year. And so why bother bidding? So then I'm always going to be, if I'm going to bid, then I'm going to play this game. I'll always be the lowest bidder. And then I'll go back and renegotiate the contract. So what is the contract for if you can renegotiate on it? Is it legally enforceable? And I know that for every other contract, let's say, you know, construction contract, you could have a change order, a contingency, percentage, you know, plus minus. If they save us, then we, you know, that adjusts down. And then if it, you know, prices go up, then adjust up. But when you bid, you are bound to what you bid, plus minus. There's got to be a clause, a percentage that you can swing either way. I don't see contracts here. I don't see anything. I just see you guys asking for 30% increase, and you're okay with that. I'm not okay with that. Why? I mean, this person won the bid. We have a contract. So are we letting him out of the contract, or do you want to do a do-over? Well, let's say if I were SC Fuels Inc. for me to bid on fuel, then I better have a huge tank somewhere that I'm gonna buy a ton of whatever fuel, just, you know, in case it goes up, then I'm gonna be able to accommodate. I'm gonna be able to live up to my contract, because however way I use, whatever way I use to price and to determine the future of fuel. Well, I mean, I didn't make them, I didn't tell them to bid in a certain way. So why are we paying for that penalty? I think they should eat it.
So may I just
Yes.
clarify?
I don't see a contract.
Sure. So may I clarify the contract? So the contract with SC Fuel, basically we lock in a delivery charge as well as a discount off of the oil price information. I would call it oil price information service. So because the oil price always fluctuate, you know, over times, over years, it depends on the market. So they locked in a certain discount. For example, let's say, you know, the oil price is $1. So they discount at 10 cents. So that's what the amount that they bid on. So, you know, they will charge it 90 cents. So if it go up to $1.50, they will charge us $1.40. So that there's a discount that locked in, and they are offered the higher discount compared to the other contractor. Does it make sense?
Is there a time like that takes place as far as that lock-in, that 10% is locked in, the discount is locked in?
Yeah, the discounts are locked in. So whatever the price going up, they're always a discount from there.
It's locked in for the entirety of the contract?
Yes, sir.
So basically, they bid the highest, and so
Offer the discount.
lowest,
Correct.
offer the discount. Okay. So, and it's supposed to be for 5 years, so it's not about changing their contract, correct?
No, correct.
It's about us allocating more money to this line item.
Correct. To the extreme increase in the fuel price that we experience right now.
Okay. Right.
All right, we have the motion and the second on the floor. Roll call vote, please, if I may.
Thank you. And that motion was made by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Mayor Ta, to approve an increase of $100,000 to purchase order number 2022-0163 to SC Fuels for gasoline and diesel fuel, and also approve a budget adjustment of $100,000 to motor pool supplies account number 58000-44000 from Equipment Replacement Fund 700 fund balance. Councilmember Doe?
Yes.
Councilmember Ho?
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Manzo?
Yes.
Mayor Ta?
Yes.
Mayor, motion carries 5-0.
Item 5.2, authorization to transfer fund for the repair of city vehicle.
I move to approve 5.2.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor for item 5.2.
The motion was made by Councilmember Ho, seconded by Councilmember Doe, to increase the revenue budget of account number 58000-39069, motor pool fund reimbursement other, by 39,345, and to increase the expenditure budget of account number 58000-43090, motor pool contractual other, by 39,345. Councilmember Doe,
Yes.
Councilmember Ho,
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Manzo,
Yes.
Mayor Ta.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item 5.3, resolution in support of investment from Russia and providing a statement of solidarity with the people of Ukraine.
Could someone read that?
So, Councilmember Nguyen, this is your item.
Yes, Mayor and council members. Yes. Mayor and council members, by now, we all know that the barbaric invasion and indiscriminate murder of innocent Ukrainian civilians and the Russian military shock murder of the conscience of all peace-loving nations around the world. The unprovoked attack against the Ukraine by an aggressive neighboring nation that harbors a malevolent political ambition shall not stand in the face of the civilized community of nations. And Westminster City is known as an all-American city, a city with a sizable freedom-loving constituency. And we and many of our fellow residents understand the pain and suffering of the Ukrainian people are currently enduring. And as former refugee, and the same for some of us in this council body, we have also lived through wars, loss of lives, destructions of homes, and displacement of families due to armed conflict. Our community cannot sit idly without raising our voice in support of the good citizens of Ukraine and their fight for self-determination. With that, and therefore, this resolution in support of divestment from Russia and providing a statement of solidarity with the people of Ukraine. So I hope that we are in support of it. So I ask council to, to approve for this item.
So I let Councilmember Nguyen to make a motion.
I move to approve this item.
Second. All right.
Can we have somebody, can we read the resolution?
Councilmember Nguyen, this is your item. So would you like to read that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay. Seat of Westminster resolution number, we don't have the number yet, as yet. A resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Westminster, California, supporting divestment from Russia and providing a statement of solidarity with the people of Ukraine. Whereas on February 24, 2022, Russia launched a large-scale invasion in the sovereignty nation of Ukraine in an act of unprovoked imperialism. And whereas Russia unprovoked invasion of a peaceful sovereign Ukraine has shaken the foundation of the freedom paid for by the millions of people who give their lives during World War II. And whereas the people of Ukraine have bravely resolved to stand firm and fight back against the tyrannical act and violation of sovereignty and international law. And whereas the city of Westminster can no longer stand by and witness the violence and killing of innocent children, women, and those bravely defending Ukraine. And whereas the United States and its allies have enacted a series of financial sanctions designed to inflict an economic cost on the Russian regime, and whereas the City of Westminster must stand with our allies in supporting similar divestiture against Russia, and whereas the City of Westminster strongly stand with the world against this unjust invasion and calls for full divestment from Russia immediately. The City Council of the City of Westminster does hereby resolve as follows. Section 1, the City Council strongly condemns the Russian military's violent attack on the people of Ukraine and strongly endorse the swift and severe economic sanction and stringent export control that the United States and our allies have imposed on Russian government. Section number 2, the City Council encouraged the City of Westminster and any of all Westminster public entitled to severe ties with any brokerage firm, bank, or investment company held, backed, or managed by Russia or its citizens. For section number 3, the City Council supports the people of Ukraine and their fight against the Russian regime. Section number 4, the mayor shall sign as to the passage, approval, and adoption of this resolution. Section number 5, the interim city clerk shall certify to the passage and adoption of this resolution and shall affix their signatures and city seal, and that same shall be entered into the book of resolution. Pass, approve, and adopt this 23rd day of March 2022, City of Westminster. If it's passed or vote passed by this council today, then the mayor, Trita, and also will sign it and attest by the city clerk, the interim city clerk. That's also Peter Mayor.
All right, thanks, Councilmember Nguyen, for your proposed resolution. Any concerns and questions from other council members?
Yes, Mayor. I just want to thank Councilmember Nguyen for bringing this to us, and I think also Councilmember Doe as well. This is a great item, and this is very sad, and that this is happening to these people of Ukraine. So thank you very much, fellow council members.
All right, if there is no other comment, we have the motion and a second on the floor to support the proposed resolution.
Thank you, Mayor. And that motion was made by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Mayor Ta, to adopt a resolution entitled "A Resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Westminster supporting divestment from Russia and providing a statement of solidarity with the people of Ukraine." Councilmember Doe?
Yes.
Councilmember Ho?
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Mayor Manzo?
Yes.
Mayor Ta?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
Thank you. Next item, 6.1, draft ordinance establishing a military equipment use policy for the Westminster Police Department.
I move to approve.
Second?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor for this item.
And to be clear, for the record, the recommendation is to receive and file at this point. We'll be coming back. We'll be coming back on April 27th for our first reading of the ordinance.
Correct.
At this point, we're receiving and filing.
Yes, correct.
Second.
Correct.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. And that motion to receive and file and bring back on April 27, 2022 was made by Councilmember Nguyen, seconded by Mayor Ta. Councilmember Doe,
Yes.
Councilmember Ho,
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Monzo,
Yes.
Mayor Ta.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
Thank you. Item 6.2, Code of Ethics for interaction between city employees and outside parties.
Yes, Mayor, I could briefly address this. Back in January 26th meeting, Councilmember Ho had asked to put an item on the agenda regarding the development of a policy relating to and providing instruction on interactions between city employees and outside parties. Direction was given to my office to proceed with the drafting of a policy that would accomplish that. We did proceed to draft one, and we began to work with the HR department. We determined there is, of course, a policy in place that does deal with public officials, but not with employees. And so the purpose here was to do something that would be more directed at employees and maybe cover some of these same issues. We determined there also is a policy in place already, which is the city personnel rules. And in talking with the personnel or HR director, she had indicated, we wanted to make sure that we're not doing something that would conflict with those rules. So we worked together and came up with the proposed policy, which is before you for your consideration. This is our draft, and we're open to any comments or changes or other ideas you may have. This again is our attempt to try to put together something that would provide direction to staff regarding the best approach when it comes to trying to limit their influences from outside parties, whether it be third parties, outside the city contractors, and as well as public officials. That was one of the things that was discussed previously, is wanting to limit. So we have a proposed policy before you. I also have a red line version from the prior personnel or policy that existed, so you can kind of see the changes. Again, I could go through it in more greater detail as to what specifically is being prohibited. Largely, it's telling employees they're prohibited from using their position for private gain or advantage, or for the private gain or advantage of others, or using city time, facilities, equipment for theirs or others' gains, using confidential information for their own gain or for the gain of other people, receiving or accepting any money or other consideration for the performance of any act which they're required to do as part of their duties. The performance of any act, knowing that performing an act outside their duties as an employee, knowing that at some point either they or their department's going to review that action that they do outside their employment. Receiving or accepting indirectly any gift from anyone who is doing business with the city. And this would be governed by the FPPC rules. There's language in there because there's some very specific regulations that govern this. And then in paragraph G, which is the main one that governs the dealings between city employees and outside parties, employees are expected to perform their duties free from any undue influence from both elected and appointed officials. They're presumed to have expertise in their jobs, and they should be free to perform their work using their best judgment and in a manner which is in the best interest of the city, free from any improper outside influences. Public officials should avoid from providing direction or criticism to employees concerning their job duties, or 2, telling them what works to prioritize, unless such direction is occurring during an open publicized meeting of the body of which that official is a member, and that direction is supported by the majority of that body. It shouldn't just be one person or 2 people, it should be a majority. And it concerns a matter which is in that body's jurisdiction. That second paragraph in G says that public officials should not attend meetings between city staff and other parties outside the city, including but not limited to any kind of permits, applicants, developers, consultants, unless they are specifically invited by the city manager to attend. And I think there's some discussion on that point. You can talk about that, whether you want to modify that or there's, but bottom line, not to attend meetings unless they're, at this point, they're specifically invited by the city manager to attend the meeting. Even then, such attendance should be limited. It should only occur in those rare situations where the public official's presence is determined to be necessary or helpful to the item being discussed. Public officials should not contact or otherwise provide instruction to city staff in the performance of their duties unless invited by the city manager. Again, that's kind of that same language. Again, the primary purpose is to allow the employee to perform their professional duties, which presumably they have expertise in a manner which is free from outside influences and in a manner which is in the best interest of the city. The next paragraph there in G says that employees are required to report any situations where public officials try to attend meetings, contact them, or provide instructions, etc., just violating the clauses above, and that it could be considered a violation of the personnel rules by that employee if they fail to do so. And finally, there's a paragraph which says that it's an exception that this prohibition on attending meetings does not apply when you're dealing with a properly established ad hoc committee of the council, because those typically are formed by a council and they need to have interaction with city employees related to whatever the subject matter is of that ad hoc committee. So, but it does say that any direction provided to city staff at those meetings should be limited to trying to seek information or materials that are necessary to allow that committee to perform whatever its assigned duties are. So that's the kind of a brief summary of what's in the policy. Again, this is just a draft, and council is free to discuss and provide any changes or direction that you may desire.
I am going to go from the back, which is actually of your item 6.2, regarding authorized by the city manager. You know, for this particular council, I don't feel like we should leave. We want to make it as black and white as possible. So that, so first of all, we've had a hard time finding a city manager, and it's all because, you know, well, I'm just gonna, I don't want to get myself in trouble, but I just want to say that, you know, putting pressure on people is probably one of the ways for people to hate their job, or they want to, you know, they get themselves in trouble. So I would say I would like to just, there should be no exception. So I would delete the part where it says, except in very limited circumstances authorized by the city manager. I would just say, just put a period after the public officials. Period.
Which part is that? Which, could you point into that area for me? Which area is that?
That would be item 6.2, and I'm just looking at the item briefly at the background, page 2, above the word fiscal impact.
Fiscal something?
Yeah, actually, you need to go to the actual policy, which is the next page.
Okay.
It says Article 2, Code of Ethics.
Yes.
On the second page of that,
okay,
you'll see paragraphs D, E, F, and G.
Yeah.
They are Article 2. They are Article 2.
So it's page 2 of the article, and it is G, and under G, and that will be second paragraph right in the middle, or towards the end of that paragraph. So I would just cut it off. Additionally, public officials should not contact or otherwise provide instruction to city staff unless specifically invited by the city manager.
So strike the part after unless?
Yes.
Okay, and what about in that same paragraph, the third line, there's a reference there as well. Same paragraph.
Oh yeah, for sure. So public officials should not attend meetings between city staff and other parties outside the city, including but not limited to permittees, applicants, developers, or consultants, period.
Period? No more invited
No
by the
unless.
city manager?
There's no
Zero.
unless, because I really, really think this council just, this particular council, if the next council want to change it, fine, but for us, I think what would be best for this council would be putting a period there, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts, there's no exceptions, and that's got to be clear. I don't want my city manager to have more pressure, because that's the purpose is somehow there's that 1%, you know, they'll find a loophole, and I believe that's gonna be the loophole. So,
Okay, so who gonna enforce that?
no, because there's nothing to enforce, because they're not gonna be invited. It says public officials are not invited, period.
Okay, so if the elected official happened to be invited, so should we put in there that the city manager must notify city council?
No, they're not
Explain the
invited,
reason why.
period. There's, you know, if you put in there, it says, unless invited by the city manager, then you will see this happening a lot. There'll be a lot of exceptions.
I understand what I'm
Yeah.
saying. There's no teeth in this clause. What if the city manager violates this policy, and then what?
Okay, then, I mean, I'm like,
We're gonna
oh my
fire,
God,
we're gonna
like,
fire that person, or what? The city council gonna fire that person?
yeah, if you want to put that in there, I'm in agreement. Notify
Yeah,
us,
what I'm
notify
saying, that there's a consequences if it's violated. That's what I'm asking.
This is the policy manual for the employees. This is directed at employees. The city manager is under a relationship directly under the city council, and you would hold the city manager responsible for enforcing the policies. And if they're not enforcing them, then you hold the city manager responsible for not doing so.
Yes.
That wouldn't be in this policy. This is a policy directed at everyone else. And
So then if you direct to everybody else, then let's put it in there that you are to report when you see in a public official attendance.
and that is the last paragraph on that page 2. Employees are required to report to their supervisor any situation where public officials attend meetings, contact them, or provide instructions, or otherwise try to direct or influence the performance of employee duties.
Love that.
Policy.
I like
love
this.
that. I really like it. So like I said, I don't want to leave any room to, I mean, there shall be no exceptions. Otherwise, you can sit here and, you know, write, you know, 10 pages and 100 pages, and you have that one little loophole there. And then next thing you know, there are exceptions. This is an exception. That's an exception. So I like that. Thank you.
Yeah, we should have this in 2018 when we got first elected. That would be so awesome. Can you imagine that? If we had all this policy. Well, thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for preparing this. I think it's very comprehensive.
But you know, when it's called for, then you know, we don't want to make policies just to make policies, but you know, I mean, I'm not saying anything to what's been asked of us in the past, but I'm saying that that's because I've seen certain things, and I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And of course, you know, less government is better than more, that sort of thing. And so, you know, that's really my theme and my, you know, I'd love to go to work with less policies and et cetera, but when you see certain things happen and, you know, you as council members, we have to protect our staff. So that's, and I, you know, and seeing that we are not protecting our staff, and I hear certain things about, you know, certain things happening without digging into the past. This is what prompts me to look into having this policy put in place. And that's also the reason why I don't like that exception, you know, except when. And so, you know, I don't want my city manager, you know, being pressured. And so there should not be any exception, period. And I think that's the only one, the only way it's going to work. So, and like I said, this is not written in stone. We can change it. And you know, I think for this council, I feel very comfortable that you know, we should pass it the way it is after that revision, except for that revision. So I move to approve if we haven't already.
Yeah, I'll second it, but I want to say thank you to Councilmember Ho for bringing this to us, and like Councilmember Do said, this is something that we should have been doing, but it's never too late, to start. So thank you, Councilmember Ho. This is all part of cleaning up our city. We have to start in-house first. There's I've been in the city for a while, and they always talk. I always hear about the wild, wild west. Westminster. Things are done a lot differently here, and it's time to start cleaning that up and start getting and being professional and then making sure our employees are working free of any kind of influence or fear or anything. We want them to succeed. If our employees succeed, our community succeeds, council succeeds. We all got to have each other's back and work together. Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick comment. Yeah, this is exactly what we need, and that's the reason why I ran for this office. I thought it was bad until I get in. Oh my goodness, what I've learned, it just like blew my mind. Because we have nothing. We don't have anything to protect us. We don't have any code of conduct, code of ethics for anybody. And it's just not. We do have some, but it's not comprehensive. This is great, wonderful. Thank you very much. Let's vote for this.
All right. We have the motion and the second on the floor. Roll call vote.
Thank you, Mayor. And the motion was made by Councilmember Ho, seconded by Vice Mayor Alonso, to approve the amendment to Article 2, Code of Ethics in the Westminster Personnel Policy Manual, as amended and directed to staff. Councilmember Doe?
Yes.
Councilmember Ho?
Yes.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes, but I have just for the record, I think this is a good amendment to the Code of Ethics, and I just want to make sure that our staff strictly enforce it, and if there's any violation, you need to bring it to the City Council.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Monzo.
Yes.
Mayor Tom.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0, Mayor.
All right. We don't have any commission and committee items. Next would be comment from City Council, agency member, including A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4 report when required. So who would like to go first? You're more than welcome to do so.
I can go first. I just want to thank the mayor and the City Council approve item 5.3, resolution in support of divestment from Russia and providing statement of solidarity with the people from Ukraine. I think it's been a lot for our city to do that, and I want to thank you for that. And that's all I have today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah, I'd like to go with next. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, Councilman Nguyen, for bringing up that the resolution to the support of people of Ukraine. And I mean, who would guess at this day and age, at the modern day, that we have an invasion in a good country in Europe, and it's just painful to see all those beautiful cities in Ukraine get bombed, get rocketed. People are dying, and the influx of refugee that's across the border to a neighboring country. I just couldn't help but relive into those refugee days that when it happened to to me when I was young, 14 years old. So very sympathetic for the people of Ukraine. War is very terrible. Those who won war never understand the pain and suffering of people in war, both sides, civilian as well as the soldier on both sides. Pain and suffering. Thousand of mother losing the sons, a father losing the son on both sides, and it's just not good. So just pray, start in prayer to the people of Ukraine. Hopefully they can bring peace to the country and rebuild the country. So, and next I want to congratulate Vice Mayor Carlo Manzo and Councilwoman Kimberly Hall survived a recall, and all that fake news devastating our community. And I'm glad that both of you escaped that. Totally uncalled for. So I hope that right now, we can the council can move forward and really take care of solve the problem that the city facing. So and again, thank you very much for the city staff, the police department, doing more with less, taking care of the city. Hope everybody can have a great weekend. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Next.
I'll go. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to thank you again to Councilmember Nguyen for that resolution, for the support of Ukraine. It's horrible what's going on over there, and a lot of people are suffering. It's affecting everyone, and it's hitting a lot of communities all over the world. Here at home, it's a big world, but we're all united and against this bullying that's over there in Russia. The scary part is that a lot of those same Russian citizens, there's a lot of fake news going on over there too, and that's how a lot of these support is done, is by the fake news, from what I understand from reading and learning about Putin, is that one of the first things he did when he became president was take control of the media, and he uses the media to his advantage to brainwash his own citizens, and that's a very scary thing. And we learned about a little bit of that fake news here in our home. It's a bad thing. And I want to say thank you to our staff for all your hard work. Thank you to all our police officers who are out there, working hard for our community under difficult times with the mandates and our staff shortages and all. And I also want to congratulate all of us and our staff for making this meeting not last till midnight. So hooray for everybody. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you all. Thank you, council, for all your hard work as well. Thank you.
All right. Next. Thank you.
Okay. First, I just want to thank, and I'd like to express my gratitude to our, and I'd like to not just thank, but I'd like to express my support to our city, our director of community development, Karen Garita, and I'm sorry, forgot your name, Mr.
Ryan Sells.
Ryan Sells. I was like trying to look for him.
This was his first meeting, so
I'm sorry.
This was his first meeting. Totally understandable.
Oh, so I hope he comes back. Ryan Sells, and maybe because of him that we're ending our thanks to him that we're ending our meeting at a reasonable time. So he brought us luck. So I'd like to I understand and that you put in a lot of effort to look into tools and ways we can build our new city or rebuild and develop. I urge and I appreciate, we really count on our director and, your entire staff on helping us with more of these tools and work together so that we can bring in revenue. So there are many ways we can bring revenue from, your directions. But what I'd like to also say is that, on my mind, I think it's always important for us to, while we know we want to, we know we need the tax and all that, and I know that certain people spoke out and said, hey, I need to approve this. And I'm not saying that, like I said, August is when our deadline is, and I'd like everybody to think about how we're going to bring in more revenue. And I'm actually going to have, I'm going to open more like a meet and greet so that we can bring in ideas. And this is, this is to bring in ideas, to bring in revenue. And I know that many people, I'm not going to limit it to certain professionals like developers or anything like that. I think pretty much anybody, because we really need to have the buy-in of our community. I think when any ideas, big or small, I think we need to work together and have that mindset that we're going to bring in some revenue. I don't care how small, so that people don't, just have that one mindset of, hey, I'm going to spend, and how I'm going to spend it, I need more money. So I think we need to turn our mind or our mindset to how could we bring in revenue, more revenue for our city. So, anybody interested in speaking to me, if you have ideas, please contact City Hall. That's where that's what my mind is on. And I think that you're right, that we need to, make up for some lost time. There's no excuse about, COVID and, things like that happened for the last 2.5, 3 years. So let's work together and put our minds together. And I think we can do it and bring in some income. Next, I'd like to ask our staff to, I saw on Channel 4 regarding this 1,600 donation of blood platelets through American Red Cross by this person who is a resident of our city. I think his name is Matthew Murphy. So if I could ask for a certificate so that we could present to him when possible, and we should invite him to come in. And I remember Christine, you might have told me that we also presented to him back when he did his 1,200 donation, 1,200.
Yeah, 1,200 in 2017.
2017.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think he, maybe because of that certificate, that got him excited about giving more, donating more. So let's give him another, and to let him know that we appreciate his participation and his donation. So I think that's really something good for us to do, especially when it went on Channel 4 and he's a citizen of our city. And then I guess that's it for me for today. Thank you.
Actually, Mayor, if I could add to her comment on the blood donation, I just wanted to announce that if anyone would like to try and beat that record, we're actually having a blood drive, American Red Cross having a blood drive over at our AB room over at the Community Services Building. That's taking place on April 19. Appointments are available from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you just, you go on American Red Cross website, redcrossblood.org, and then enter the code Westminster, and it'll give the times for donations. So absolutely encourage anyone. There is a blood shortage right now, and donors are needed. So ties in perfectly. So April 19th, and check the website out.
Great, thank you.
All right, really appreciate that information. I want to thank all members of the City Council for standing together for the resolution proposed by Councilmember Nguyen regarding Ukraine. I think that even we are a local city in the state of California. However, we stand together and we stand for Ukraine. And every day I watching TV. The one Ukraine. I think that is really make us to be more thankful what we having today in a free country. I want to thank our staff for working really hard. I want to thank city manager, assistant city manager, department head, and all the staff for all the items that we have on the agenda today. I think it's really helpful that our staff, they really want to improve the quality of life for our community, for our residents. That's why I'm so happy for all the items proposed by staff today. Really appreciate that. And I am so happy today we have a short meeting. And I think, yes, the meeting today is kind of really effective. Yes. And I'd like to adjourn the meeting in memory of Joshua and Jamie Page. Joshua and Jamie were students at Edison High School who lost their life in a tragic car crash while they were on their way to school. It's really sad news. The Page brothers and their family are longtime residents of Westminster. So on behalf of the City Council, the city staff, I would like to send our condolences to the Page family. And we're going to keep them in our prayers. Yes. All right, so with that, the meeting is adjourned. The next regular meeting will be on Wednesday, April 13 at 7 p.m. Good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.